see the king, you begin to look at yourself.
Who shall go for us? Your promoter has been answering for a long time. Here I am, Lord, send me. Verses are the heirs of that.
Being taught. I've seen it written in books and countless people giving variations and interpretations of what went on in this moment. If you're watching this video right now, this is really good. What you're about to get into isn't just some collected work documented about something that happened in first century Palestine, but more so a real life experience that happened to someone like you and I today. And so I want to challenge you. Keep your eyes steady on what you're about to see. Follow the progression. See how the story unfolds. It may seem outrageous, it may sound ridiculous, but probably may be more close to home than you can imagine.
The most dramatic event that happened to one of the enigmatic individuals of ancient Jewish history.
Sources aren't clear on the exact location of the scene of the event.
Some say it happened in a secluded space of a Jewish temple.
This isn't some fantasy if you consider the historical data that verifies the authenticity of this event.
While others say it could be one of those fifth dimension Doctor Strange multiverse phenomenals.
It could possibly pass as one of those epics that could become a blockbuster movie. But let's not be so simple to think that that's all it could be, considering that this really happened to someone like you and me. Well, going on from here is Study Film's rendition of the story behind this strange vision.
Placing this in a particular frame of time gives us a kind of focal point, and this angle of the story moves a straight line to these three numbers: 740. More detailed, BC. At age 16, he ascends the throne of his father. Young Uzziah is tasked with heavy responsibility. I mean, the situation surrounding the ascension of his throne is quite sad, but this doesn't deter the young ruler from being an exceptional king. I mean, he builds a sophisticated military manpower. He invents incredible machines of warfare. Uzziah didn't just become a king by birthright, but also by outstanding leadership. But this isn't all about Uzziah's reign. In the later years of his life, he goes in the same pattern of the kings before his reign, and this lands him in deep problem.
But when he was strong, his heart was lifted up to his destruction, for he transgressed against the Lord his God by entering the temple of the Lord to burn incense on the altar of incense.
He walks into the temple on his own because he's going to burn incense. One of the priests see him and he chases them, and then 80 other priests follow him in. They get there and they confront him. They tell him, look, it's not right. You're not supposed to do this.
Right before the altar of incense, something supernatural happened. Uzziah was struck with leprosy. I mean, the leprosy appeared on his forehead. This was frankly a fearful event, so much so that the priests thrusted Uzziah out of the temple, and out of fear and shame, Uzziah takes off. Isaiah records an encounter just after the death of King Uzziah. Isaiah records this event, and at this point, Isaiah brings us to a life-changing experience. Defies all kind of human thinking. At the opening, in the year King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord sitting on a throne, high and lifted, and the train of his robe filled the temple. Commentators of this event wrestle with the high and lifted. They do not know whether he's referring to the God himself that he sees sitting on that throne, or actually seeing a physical elevation for sitting. But whatsoever interpretation scholars wrestle with, the point is this: Isaiah sees the Lord sitting on a throne, and around this throne he sees the cloak of a king. He sees a garment of a supreme being that transcends everything. And moving us further into the picture, Isaiah mentions the names of some spiritual beings, which are known to be the seraphim. They have 6 wings. So we have this picture of creatures who have 6 wings. He goes on to say that these creatures begin to cry to one another. They begin to proclaim aloud, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts." The emphasis is in the superlative, and the word holy is known to be kadosh. And kadosh simply describes something that draws meaning from itself in a special kind of way, without some kind of reference. Something that is secluded, exclusive, and sacred. he uses this Hebrew word to say exactly what the seraphims are emphasizing as they see this spectacular sight. They scream to one another, Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. The next line says, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts, King of the armies of heaven. This phrase is important now because we see a king that rules the angelic order of the spiritual beings that are in that high and exalted sphere. Seraphims do not stop there. They continue to say that the whole earth is full of his glory. The seraphims are describing the creator's status, declaring the works of the Holy One of Israel as the creator of both the heavens and the earth. At the sound of this cry of the seraphims, the doorpost being shaken by the voice of him who cried out, and the house was filled with smoke. Isaiah, at the sight of this, begins to confess his sins. What he experiences at this point grants him the ability to look at himself and compare to what he's seeing. He voices out a deep regret. It is captured in the way the Hebrew prophets claimed an unfortunate event. Isaiah expresses this deep epiphany by saying, Woe is me, for I am a man of unclean lips, and I dwell in a land of people who have unclean lips. This is heart-wrenching for Isaiah. The sight of the Holy One of Israel moves him to see the need of changing within himself and his people, and he qualifies this. He doesn't just leave us hanging to try to figure out why he's in such deep regret. He says, because my eyes have seen the King, the Lord of armies. And in just that moment, a seraphim flew towards him with a burning coal taken from the altar which was in the presence of God, and put this burning coal in Isaiah's tongue. The seraphim says something here, and the seraphim makes a remark. Your sin is atoned for. This is a comforting reality to Isaiah. The Jewish concept of sin moves backward into the foundation of fulfillment of the law which was passed to their fathers by Moses hundreds of years before Isaiah's time. And so when Isaiah hears this from the seraphim, and when the seraphim says this to Isaiah, it reassures Isaiah that his sin is atoned for, meaning that he need not to worry about the consequences of his unclean lips, but rather his election of grace and mercy by the Holy One of Israel, both to stand before the Holy and also to be an instrument, a mouthpiece of Israel. But Isaiah tells us more. He hears the voice of the Lord saying, Whom shall I send, and who will go for us? And on hearing this, Isaiah says, Here I am, Lord, send me. This to me is the moment of his commissioning. He is brought to a purpose that is higher than himself, and that is to the service of this high and lifted one that sits on the throne. There is a sad tone for his people, and we see where the Holy One speaks. What he tells Isaiah to speak is quite controversial. You would expect some kind of reassurance that Isaiah had gotten from his own encounter with the Holy One of Israel, but something quite different. And we're going to find out soon why this utterance from the Holy One of Israel isn't as Isaiah's pardoning and atonement. He tells Isaiah to intentionally make the minds of the people dull, to deafen their ears and blind their eye. Otherwise, they might somehow see and repent and turn from their wicked ways. What is this reversal? I, for one, would think that Holy One of Israel at this moment would give Isaiah a message of deliverance. But something is happening here. Why is the Holy One giving these utterances to Isaiah? On hearing this, Isaiah cries out. So the Holy One of Israel responds, Until the cities are ruined, land is desolate, and the Lord drives out his own people far away into another foreign land, leaving great emptiness place they occupy. In the process of this desolation, there will be a remnant. He likens their existence with that of an oak tree burnt down, and the stump of the tree left when it's taken down, the remnant that will remain in the land after the desolation.